Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs. I'm your host Mark. Today I'm joined by Chris, Atlanta Brick Co.'s owner, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting subject. This was actually requested by multiple people to me directly, and I think this really is worthy of a podcast and discussion about this theme of Lego. It's sorting and storage and display and everything around the Lego that you're collecting and using. Because we talk about minifigures, we talk about sets all day long, every day, but we don't always talk about what we do with it, how we process it, how we contain it, and actually organize it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I think, Chris, you have a fair amount of experience organizing and sorting Lego. You want to share a little bit about your story of, getting into Lego, how you began to process it?
Yeah, I've evolved through the process, I feel like, to the point where I've achieved the status or achieve the point where you're paying someone to sort.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a pretty long journey. Yeah, that's awesome.
And it started many years ago, maybe, 15 years ago, just dumping it out on the carpet.
Yep.
With me and my wife and my kids just sorting it. I think we sorted it by color.
Yeah.
And we were taking out what we thought was the fake Lego, which I know now that I probably threw away a lot of really good pieces.
Yeah, we've actually talked about pieces that are thrown away before, not too long ago, so we might have to put a little clickable link up there for those who are interested in those kind of pieces. But yeah, that's how I think most people start with Lego, is they'll just kind of pour it out, enjoy it, and kind of enjoy the tactile feel, build a set. They get a bucket of Lego, they're playing with it.
Pro tip number one, while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
You'll have to number these.
Yeah, exactly.
So, pro tip number one, don't dump your Lego out on your carpet.
Don't
do it.
Unless you have a small amount of it, it's going to get everywhere.
Yeah, that's what they make those bags that open up for, to dump it out in the bag. Because when you go to pick it back up, you're going to get all the little carpet filaments, hair. There's always hair on carpets.
Yeah.
Human hair, dog hair, pet
dust,
hair.
dirt.
Dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheetos.
Yep, exactly.
You're going to get all that stuff up when you go to put it back in. So now your Lego is dirtier and dirtier and dirtier.
It can get kind of grimy in there if you're not careful. Yeah.
I like to use a big flat tray.
Yeah.
The underbed trays work best for me when I'm doing a lot of sorting. They're about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide.
Exactly. That's one of our first recommendations if you're kind of just wanting to spread the Lego out. Even if you just don't even organize it in any other way, put it in a container of some kind.
Yeah.
As a kid, I would just use a big beach towel because I didn't have any money or any extra stuff to organize it with, but there are better options than that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
So.
And we actually use those underbed containers in the store.
Yeah.
We probably have 10 of them floating around just in the storefront, probably 100 in the basement. And we use them every day.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Well, we'll need to dump out some bulk brick to inspect it, and we're trading it, and so someone's trading it to us, and we need a place to spread it out quickly and still be able to clean it up in a flash.
Yeah.
A big bin works great, one of those longer bins. They're not too expensive. You can get them at Walmart or Target or wherever. So that's the first stage of sorting. What was the evolution then? It was like color sorting, you would say?
Yeah, I would say color sorting, and I guess at some point I realized the need for sorting. And I think I started out with about a big Rubbermaid tote, which is 30-40 pounds of Lego.
Yeah.
And you're going through it. A tote, looking through a tall basic tote is impossible.
Yeah.
You just can't get down to the bottom, and then you realize I've got to dump this out so that I can see it all. So then you dump it out in a flat container. Then you're looking at it that way. Oh, there's the piece I need.
It's better. Yeah.
There's the one piece. Go back. So then you realize the need to sort it somehow. And if you only have about a tote, that's not enough to sort it by part.
Yeah. Oh no. You might have only a small handful of 1x2 plates or whatever, so it's not feasible. So.
If you do sort it by part, you would do plates, bricks, scopes.
By type, maybe.
Yeah.
So.
And a broader type. A lot of people will call it, they label their containers, and a lot of people call plates flats.
Yeah. No, it's a plate. Lego calls it a plate. Always has. So, yeah. But
and then, well, if that's a flat, what's a tile?
Yeah, tiles is super flat.
Yeah. Slicks.
Actually, if you're thinking about sorting, acquaint yourself with one of the sorting languages, either Bricklink, which names and categorizes everything, or Lego themselves. You can go look at their, get their pieces and just shop individual stuff, and it'll tell you what everything is. It's a tile, it's a plate, it's a brick. Learn those, the lingo, so that you can talk with other Lego fans and you can buy stuff online because you know what you're looking for. It's not just a 2E brick. It's a 1x2 brick. Don't start creating your own slang for it. So,
And it's not a cheese slope. It's a
1x1 slope.
2/3
2/3 slope.
We still call cheese slopes, and we still call studs.
Yeah, it's a 1x1 round. Yeah.
Studs is so much easier than saying 1x1 round.
There's some terminology that is, just completely prevalent in the Lego community. It makes sense, but sometimes you need to be a little more specific. So
Now, there is a guy online that, years ago, like 15 years ago, he created an Excel spreadsheet that has the part name, the number, and a picture of it.
Yeah.
And it's set up so that you can print it into a certain type of label.
Wow.
A label maker.
Yeah.
And I do see those on collections a lot, and it's free. So if you go out there and Google it, you can find that.
So that's a good starting point if you're starting to organize it by type, by part. Yeah, so that's interesting. I know for me, it was very much, I had a big bucket of Lego, and I spent a lot of time as a kid just digging through, looking for the one basic brick to put in the wall that I was trying to finish. And that's not so bad if you're a kid and you have all summer to build on something, but as an adult, you gotta definitely evolve and change how you do it. The first change happened when I started sorting by color, because I was building a lot of mountains and castles, and I was taking them apart and building another one, taking them apart, and I realized, I'm like, why don't I just save out all the gray, and that way my building process is so much faster. And so suddenly, all the colors are divided up into different bins about this size, and that's kind of how it's stuck ever since. But there's pros and cons to everything. I would say that, you got to think about how much time you're spending sorting versus building. Because if you sort a lot, you're spending a lot of time sorting, but your building time is so much shorter. It's like when you build, you can go grab exactly where you know it is. So that's the best thing about it.
You have to sort. If you want to do custom builds, you've got to sort. And what's interesting is, you start out. I think a lot of people start out sorting by color. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they evolve. If they continue down that road, they evolve to sorting by part.
Yes, that's the
plates, bricks, and then
the next step.
Then they subdivide that, and then they subdivide that down to by color again.
Yeah.
But you get down to 1x1 bricks in this drawer. Now you've got 1x1 bricks by color.
Yeah. Then it's like 10 drawers based on whatever colors you have. So.
Yeah. So I think every year you go down this path, you get better and better and better organized until you're finally at that infinite degree.
Yep.
And then you die.
Exactly. You're too old to play with Lego, and it's over. Yeah.
And then you die, and then your heirs sell us your Lego collection.
we end up with it somehow.
That's the only way we've gotten sorted parts Lego collections.
Yes. Somebody
somebody passed away because if you've taken all that time to sort your parts, they're worth so much more money to you than to anybody else.
They ever will be.
Our sorted parts walls are full.
Yeah.
Like if somebody brings in sorted Lego, we're gonna buy it by the pound, and it's just not possible to pay for the hours you spent sorting.
It's incalculable, really. So Chris, we're talking about these different types of sorting. What are some of the physical solutions that we can recommend to people once they start to evolve through this hierarchy of sorting?
No matter what you put your Lego in, I think it should be clear.
Yes.
How often do we pick containers up and look at the bottom?
Every day.
Even the flat ones. The flatter the better.
Yep.
And you want it to be portable. Okay. So you've got a stack of drawers there.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to pull that whole drawer out and dump it or go through it.
There you go.
Yeah, these actually work great because they're flat. These are Sterilite. Buy them at Walmart.
A nice surface area, exposed. You can see what's going on. So.
These work out very good because you can just take the whole thing out and build with it. See on the bottom, nothing is hiding inside.
That's a good starter. Or even if you're really far along and you're just putting one color piece in here, and you have a bajillion of these, it
Yeah.
still works. So
Yeah.
and just so people can see it. I'll
So
hold that in the front,
using
so.
clear containers is big.
Yeah.
Modular systems where you can change out, if you're using a shelving unit, where you can change out the size of the drawer is nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shelving units where you just can't change the size of the drawer.
Yeah.
It's stuck. That big drawer is stuck here. The small drawers are stuck here. It's nice to be able to move the size because your collection grows or shrinks all the time, and you've got to change up the size of your drawers. But you don't want to change the location.
Yeah. The Lego room is typically a designated area in your space, so you got to think about.
So this is
Modularity.
is this what people call the Acro Mills containers?
Yeah.
Kind of close to them. It's not.
This is literally an Acro Mills. Right
Oh,
there.
is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay. So this is a sorted collection we got in recently, and what this gentleman did is he used a sticky putty, and he put the actual Lego piece that was in each drawer on the outside of the container. And we're just having a hard time getting all that putty off. The pros about this, two pros, is it's clear
Yep.
and it's removable.
Pretty easily removable too. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's quite often somebody will need all of their parts or move parts, and if it's not movable or portable, you've got to pick each part out,
Oh yeah.
right?
If this doesn't come out all the way and it just stays in the drawer, it's
Correct.
just awful.
Yeah.
So-
So you want to be able to move it. The con about it is it's stuck in that spot. What happens when you get more of that piece and you're ready to go up to this next size that's down here?
You gotta take them all out, dump them in a different bin, and move it around.
Yeah,
and you're doing a lot of work.
It finds a new location in your collection because now it's too big. So I like this. It's not bad for a personal collection. These are way too small for us. We have nothing that would actually fit in
Yeah.
there. I like these kind of containers on a wired shelf.
Yeah, a shelving unit.
Yeah, and a big shelving unit. And you can take this out, dump it. You can put separators in it.
A label on it.
It's clear, but what you can also do is switch it out in that same spot for a bigger size
Yeah.
and not have to change the location of that part.
You just rotate out for a larger modular section,
Yeah.
right? So.
Now we've actually, this has been a learning process for us over the years. And we spent a lot of money on a modular shelving system behind our wall, which is pretty famous, I'd say. I mean, any pictures of our store, video, we've had that ever since we've been in existence for 8 years now.
Absolutely.
And it's very aesthetically pleasing, I think. I like it. It's a Sterilite, and we bought it at Walmart, which is so it's easy to find.
Yep.
But the problem is you can't change the size of the drawers.
Without moving the entire unit and the whole shelving arrangement, you have to. It's a lot of work to physically move those around.
The other con is that they're expensive.
Yeah.
They're like $20 for one little square box.
Yeah.
Whereas this used to be $1 at the dollar store in Walmart. Now it's like $1.50, $2.
Yeah. Not too bad, but still a fraction of the price of a drawer unit that you could be getting. So,
yeah. So I find that the shoebox size is a very convenient size container. That's what they call these clear plastic containers, shoeboxes.
So looking back, if you were to, with hindsight, would you get that wall again, or would you try a different system, knowing
I would
what kind of volume we're going to have?
So we have looked forward into getting steel shelving that you can put these on.
Yeah.
We're not actually using these yet. We've got a ton of these in the basement, and we're getting ready to go to these.
Yeah. Switching over to those as we're able.
What we're using now in the basement are these, and we love them. It's way better than the Sterilite modular system. However, what's the problem with that?
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
You can't see through it.
So it's not aesthetically pleasing because you can't see all those awesome Lego colors inside.
Not as easily. You have to
Looking
peek
at a
in.
wall, at the pick-a-brick wall at the Lego store, and seeing all those bricks on the wall, that is awesome.
Yep.
That's like $1 million view. You know? That
Exactly.
doesn't look good. It's a warehouse.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going to the clear containers.
Yeah.
And eventually it's a big task, but we're going to change out the shelving behind the counter.
Yeah. What me and Steven have done as our collection has evolved, we haven't gotten to the next step, which is dividing by piece to a certain extent. So we just have hundreds of these and slightly medium and large sizes of these too. And we got them all in the same color, the stadium blue, because they've been making that for 10 plus years at Walmart now. And we got metal shelving units. They're not quite like the wire shelving. They're more like just flat steel. We got them at IKEA for pretty cheap. We just stick those all on there. So if you're still doing very basic color sorting, you can still expand that to be pretty big. And the reason we stick with that is because of the amount of time actually spent sorting. I do most of, I would say 90 or more % of the sorting for me and Steven. And I like to spend more time building. So whenever we're sorting by color, it's just boom, 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 boom. You can do buckets of these in an hour versus if you're doing by part type and you're putting it in each individual drawer or container, wherever it may be, it could take a lot longer than that.
So we forgot about our pro tips.
Oh, yeah.
Pro tip number 2, clear containers.
Yeah.
Pro tip number 3, movable containers.
Yeah, modular.
And here's another example of a movable container. Gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So these are actually not necessarily meant to be sorting trays. These are the Lego Advent Calendar inserts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of like an egg carton, right? So it's made by Lego. This is a Lego piece.
Lego piece.
We never throw them away. I mean, they're too useful looking. Right?
That's right. They're useful looking is the key word here, right?
A lot of sorters love these. My mom loves these things, and I've told her the downfalls of them.
Yeah.
Which is, if you've got each of these, let's say you're sorting studs.
Yeah.
And you've got red, blue, green, yellow, dark blue, sand blue.
I see multiple problems arising right away. Yeah.
So I need all the red out. I can't even get my fingers down at the bottom.
Yeah, you're doing the ostrich peck with your fingers here to try and get it out of there.
So ideally, if you were using this for sorting, you'd have a little cup that goes inside, and you could take the cup out, dump it, and then put it back.
Like a little plastic disposable cup or something in there, yeah. So.
And that's once you've gone into this, it's hard getting out of this.
You're literally stuck in there. You can't get them all out. So.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if you you also need to think about moving it around. What are the odds of all those bricks falling out if you have a couple of these stacked or whatever? I feel like there's no way to lid this off, so you're just going to be dumping it. And imagine, like, the nice thing about having everything in this bin or a couple bins like this is once you dump it out, it's emptied out, and you could fill it with something else if you wanted to. You can't dump these out without spilling all of them into the same thing. So there's just a lot of problems with a system like this. However, I think a lot of them are solved by this. So.
Well, and this is a very similar problem. So this has the lid that didn't have. This is a fishing tackle box made by Flambeau. You get it at Academy Sports, Walmart, and you can actually see this guy had a very nice label. Well, that's a nice label.
You like a nice sticker label on there, yeah. So.
Yeah. So we got like 1,000 of these things, right? And these are nice. These are like $3 or $4 cases. Yeah. Made in the USA. So that label that's on there it's centered. It's just perfect. It's clear. It sits right on there.
Yep.
And he's got it on both sides. So I don't have to worry if I put it in the right way. It's always on a side. This one here says rubber band and belt / slope colon 1x2 grill 1x3 comma 2x4.
Yeah, he's gone to extreme detail on these. So.
Yeah. However, what's the problem with this?
You're still pecking them out of there, right?
You're still pecking them out. Yeah. So these have dividers in them, but again, you got something in there. I mean, I don't know what he had in there, but I mean, you can barely get your fingers. I
can barely get 3. I can't get 4 fingers in there. You know, it's just barely reaching in there.
So I think that would be pro tip number 4: is you've got to be able to dump them out without everything else falling out.
Yeah. So tackle box, not necessarily great for parts. I would say that there is a case to be made for very small quantities of things, maybe minifigures or accessories, maybe.
Yeah, minifigures.
That's something I like to use these bins for.
Or larger parts.
That's why I brought this one here. Is Lego did make one container that I would possibly recommend. Is if you want to keep all your minifigures together, you don't have a giant collection yet. This usually is how we see minifigures arrive, is in bins like this. You just put all your characters in there. They're all pretty safe.
Yeah.
And you can dump them out. It avoids the issue of you can't reach in there. So a little bin like this, we have a whole stack of them for $5.
And I love these things.
Yeah.
They make a shelving unit so that you can put them on shelves. So
Yeah,
they're
stackable.
These are great, and Iris actually makes them, who is a manufacturer of plastics in the United States.
Yeah.
And I think they're out of the Midwest somewhere, and they just license the Lego trademark.
They
to
put
be able
a
to
nice
make these.
decal on it and
Yeah.
have a logo on it. It's
So
good
you
to
can
go.
actually buy these without the Lego licensing from Walmart, I think.
Oh, really? There you
Yeah, actually, they call these photo storage boxes.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Scrapbooking.
Yeah, and that
So-
works pretty good for minifigures. Are a very different situation than bricks most. So this probably wouldn't work great for like your pieces unless it was specifically the right volume for whatever pieces you might
Maybe
have
color
here.
sorted pieces.
Yeah, if you have like your reddish brown or something
Yeah.
you don't have a ton of in here, that works okay. But it's specific uses. You kind of have to evolve and adapt as you continue to grow your collection. But
Now I know we've jumped right into the storage containers, but let's go backtrack a little bit and get back into the color sorting and how we sort it.
Yeah.
Because one thing that is interesting to me is it's like, okay, beginners color sort,
yeah,
but we have to have color sorted brick here at the store.
we do. Yeah.
So advanced Lego sorters and experts and professionals color sort as well.
Yes.
So I would never get out of color sorting. If something's color sorting, pro tip number 5,
Yeah.
if something's color sorted, don't sort it again. Keep it color sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, you could subdivide it further into the bigger parts or smaller parts or whatever, but you don't have to necessarily undo that. So.
Yeah, and don't waste your time sorting it by size.
Yeah.
Because they have those bins, the sorting bins.
You can get a container for that.
That's like one of the only automated sorting things you can do.
Yeah.
People have tried to invent robots that sort Lego, and they just don't work.
It takes too much time to make the robot to do that. You can
Or
just sort all your Lego.
Too much time or money. Maybe these new AI robots will be able to. That's it. Use AI robots to sort your Lego.
We could do it. Yeah.
They could do it. They
Yep.
could totally do it. They're trying to make them do all these other things that are just total waste of time.
That's something
like
AI
take
should
over
be.
humanity and stuff.
Exactly.
Forget it. Just teach them to sort Lego.
That's what we need to do. It's $1 million idea, Chris. We need to jump on that.
Just came up with it here on live television.
It's great.
And
It's awesome. Yeah.
Patent pending.
Exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that in an ideal world, in like not necessarily what we're doing here, but you could have some sort of by part, some useful things, and then you have some things that are not as specific. Like you need basic bricks. Sort those by color, and then you can go grab a handful of them, and you get different sizes and be able to build a little faster. So
We've built some very large commission projects this past year, and what is fascinating me is that you guys, when you're building them, you're not going to the pieces that are already sorted out by piece. You're going for that big color sorted bin.
Yeah.
And because it's easier to have that with you
Yeah.
when you're building a green tree.
Exactly. You have
Yeah.
instead of digging through only a specific size of plate or brick, you have a huge variety of sizes to work with for a more natural shape. So if you're building like a box or a city skyscraper, it might make sense to do part sorted. But if you're building something more organic, definitely recommend color sorted pieces to be able to work with more flexibility. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah. And, everyone builds in a different way. So if you don't do so well in such a chaotic manner, organize it more and spend a little more time, invest in it, and then you'll probably find it more satisfying for you. So.
You're right about that. The chaos of sorting Lego, there are certain people
Oh, yeah.
that we have sat down in our sorting room in the basement and they look at it and they just can't
It's
touch
overwhelming,
it.
yeah.
They can't touch it. But then you have other people who enjoy it so much that they do it for free.
Yeah.
Like my mom really likes sorting Lego.
Yep.
I really like sorting Lego. However, I go for the minifigures and the animals
Yeah.
because
the cool parts, right?
well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are cool. Very cool. However, they're also worth a lot more money.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, the valuable pieces. The 2x4 is not nearly as interesting as what kind of figure that is and what it's worth. And
I could sort out all the 2x4s at home and bring them in, and you guys are just gonna build something out of it.
We would just shrug and put them with the rest of them.
Or I could build minifigures and bring them in, and they're gonna sell.
Everyone's like, "Oh, look at that bag of Star Wars figures!" Yeah. So.
Or Imperial.
Alrighty, so
blue coats.
Exactly. Yeah, blue coats like from Alistair.
Yeah.
One other aspect of Lego building, organizing, sorting that people have asked me about a couple times, and usually you're here to help answer those questions, Chris, is building tables and Lego tables. So a lot of families, kids starting out, they want to have a space to do it, and the first thing to do is dump it on the floor. And we've already explained why that's not necessarily a great idea without proper bins and bags and whatever you're doing to prevent it from getting on the floor. A table would be the next step up. What are some things that you would look for in an ideal Lego table? So
that's a good question, and it's hard to answer because everyone's situation is different.
That's correct.
How much room they have to work with. So your basic Lego tables that you see are usually about 2 feet by 2 feet square.
Yeah,
and
a little space.
It's got a base plate, 48 by 48 base plate on it, and you just sit there and play with it. It's got some storage bins underneath. That's a good starting point.
Yeah.
You can get a regular table like we're sitting at. There's a reason that these tables are this height. This is a standard height of a table that you would sit at without having back problems, right?
Yeah.
So you'd get a table like this, and you can put ridges on it.
Yes.
If the table's for sorting, you want ridges on your table so that the pieces don't fall off.
Those little round cylinder pieces will roll right off the table. So
you can get some molding from Home Depot and just screw the molding down on the edge of the table. Boom.
Yep.
Easy to do. Pro tip number 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
Another pro tip for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we've built our own tables for our Lego City, and we see them at conventions all the time, the lug groups. I love seeing the lug groups with their own tables.
Yeah, they build their own stuff.
Yeah, they get very, very specific because it's hard because you have to get into your model. So you've got to, sometimes you need to get under your table and get in the middle of it. Sometimes you need to be able to get on top of it. On Beyond the Brick, I saw them interviewing somebody recently, and the guy was standing in the middle of his city.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that or not. He's got an amazing
I've probably
setup.
seen the thumbnail at least.
And it might even have been at a Legoland Discovery Center, but he's walking in his city.
Yep. It's got to be strong enough, right?
So it's got to be strong enough, and you've got to lay it out so that I can step on that spot and not break something.
Exactly.
I can't see anybody walking in our city.
No, it's the buildings are a little close together too.
We made it just the right width so that you can reach in and build.
Exactly. It's the right depth of space. So. But one thing that I know that families want to do, especially in those earlier stages of Lego fandom, they'll want to put base plates on the table and like glue them, attach them. What are some of the pitfalls that you would recommend people avoid when attaching base plates to a table? I wouldn't necessarily do that because I like to change it out. I might use a raised base plate. I might not have a base plate at all. I might want a smooth surface. But what would you recommend people do to avoid any issues?
Well, you cannot use Velcro. I've tried it in the past, and it creates too much of a lump underneath the base plate. And then once you have that cushion, then the base plate bends, and the bricks don't stick like they should.
Yeah, they're not going to stay.
So I don't like destroying base plates, but you can screw them down in the corners. Yeah, and it's functional. I guess the best way, if you want it to be permanent, is to glue it. Yeah. However, I just hate gluing Lego. Yeah. And like you said, you want to be able to switch it out. Exactly. So sometimes just using a ridge, like having something like I was talking about,
like an inch high or so.
Yeah, just a ridge that you can inlay and set the base plates or base plate in so that it's not sliding around. It's just fine.
That's definitely our recommended now, but there are some things you can do. I know that one thing is if you're like attaching base plates to a wall or a table and you really want it to be a permanent Lego thing, make sure you're attaching a brick or a plate between each plate so that you're not getting too close, because if you glue them too close, they won't snap together. They need a little bit of space. It's almost like not even a sheet of cardboard of width there, but it's...
And that's what's funny is when people are building Lego tables, the father's usually the one doing it. And he jumps right on it. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll build you that Lego table. And they take 2 base plates and you put them together and you glue them down, right? No.
Yep. You're going to have a line where you can't attach anything. So.
Pro tip number 7.
Yeah.
7, we'll say.
Another pro tip.
You have got to put that plate between them before you screw them down or glue them down.
Yeah.
Because there is that tiny little gap between the base
Exactly.
plates.
You got to get, it's like a measurable space right there. Yep, but that's about all I had for Lego tables. The last thing, we could always circle back to something if you want to focus more on it, but I want to talk about displaying your sets, displaying your minifigures, and just presentation for your Lego room overall. Because in the last couple years, Lego has really exploded as a brand, as a business, and a lot of that's due to adults getting back into it. And they're buying sets, and they're enjoying the set experience, but they're also displaying it in like their hobby room, their man cave, whatever you want to call it, their Lego room. And they're really making these look awesome. It's become an increasing trend in the United States and abroad. And what are some of the things that you see people wanting to get, and what would you recommend people do to help, boost their Lego room to its next level?
Well, I think most people are just going to put them on a shelf.
Yeah.
And that's great, that's fine, that's what you do, right? It's just they get dusty on that shelf, and the dust could actually hurt them. That could cause some of the discoloring that you see on the whites.
If it's too close to a window, for sure. We have to be careful with that in our stores sometimes.
Yeah. And people could touch them. So some nice options are to get cases like this. This is kind of a miniature version.
Minifigure size case.
A cheap size. This is $20. And it's made in China. This is what we sell because Lego does not make these. However, you could spend more money and get a even nicer one from like Wicked Bricks. And but that's going to cost you like $40, $50, $60. These can be acrylic is very expensive. And that's why you don't see a ton of people actually splurging on these acrylic cases because it is so expensive.
It looks great though, and it'll keep them dust free essentially. So
I like the way they make them. They make them modularly. And this is how Wicked Bricks does it. But they even use magnets and screws, and they're very high end. They're made in England. But there are U.S. makers that are getting into the market now, and there's a lot of U.S. makers that used to make them, and they've gone out of business because it is not an easy market.
It's expensive.
They're just acrylic is so expensive, and then you've got to upcharge that once you've put all this work into it.
You're packaging it, you're making it, and you're selling it. So that's one thing.
This big old case comes in this nice little container. We sell these like hotcakes for $20. You can't beat it.
If you got a collection of Star Wars or Marvel or something that you're trying to display as far as figures or small builds,
if you want to, you could actually put a whole look at that Speed Champions.
Couple cars parked.
Great in there. But then you do have the tiers if you want them. So this is probably one of your better options. Another really good option, I guarantee you I'm stealing one of yours, is just to get a glass bookcase.
Or like you can see where people would display their fine china. You can do the same thing for Lego behind a glass panes.
A china cabinet.
China cabinet.
Who uses china cabinets anymore?
You could probably find them pretty cheap on like furniture places. Now that I think about it, that's a good pro tip number 8 or 9. Yes.
Pro tip number 8: go to Goodwill and get a secondhand shop and get a china cabinet.
I do know that I see a lot of Lego fans shopping at IKEA because they have that very European, almost Danish. They're actually Swedish, but it's very Lego style furniture, and so it goes very well with your Lego collection. It displays it very cleanly and nicely. And so
IKEA is now selling Lego products.
Yes, they have collaborations with Lego.
Their own little kits, and they're also using Lego A-folds in some of their commercials.
That's interesting.
That's fun. We actually have a couple of IKEA cases in our store that we use, and I think you have some of the same ones at your house. Actually,
we got them here for the store because they're the right size and they lock and they're really nice. It's almost like a more streamlined china cabinets, really nice glass panes, and so I saw them here at the store, and I'm like, I need to get a couple of those for our studio and our collection. So we have 3 of those now. They're exactly like the ones at the store. They're very nice. So they are expensive though. They're like $300 a pop.
Yeah, but there's no cheaper alternatives either.
That's as cheap as it gets.
All glass and acrylic is expensive. So, so that's your options. You know, you could just put them on a shelf like most people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or you could encase them.
Yeah.
And there's lots of options for encasing them.
Yeah, lots of tiers of complexity there. And then the final thing I would say is make sure you got some good lighting. You can get some, it's almost like gamer lighting you can put in there, or just some bright lights like we have here in the studio. Make sure you can see your collection and appreciate how cool it looks. So.
And what's funny about that is lighting is expensive too. We
All of
have
it is.
Lighting problems in our store.
Yeah, it's a little bit. So.
They're always burning out. They're always going out. We don't have enough lighting.
It's an older building. We got to overcome a few challenges there. So,
but that's cost is stopping us from upgrading.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. But so all of that together hopefully should give people watching this video a good picture of what they can do to organize, appreciate, display their Lego sets, minifigures, and pieces.
There are a couple of things we skipped over.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it.
Lego sells or licenses their name out to a lot of companies that make stuff for them, such as the Iris container.
Yep.
But like this is a storage head, and you've got bigger ones and all that. And these look awesome. I guarantee you won't.
I got 3 of them right down here.
Yeah, you got 3 of them right down here. These are awesome. As a head.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, come on. Maybe a candy bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I think they're made to put Lego in. But there's these little... There's that ridge in there.
Yeah, show that to the camera. There's a little gap in there.
They've been making these for 20, 30 years. And they've always had that gap, and every single used one of these you see has Lego stuck in there.
Yeah, and you got to get a toothpick to get them out of there.
1x2 tiles, always stuck in there. And it's just, and they're not clear.
Yeah.
So they're not super functional, they're just aesthetic.
And this is just like, it's a lid. It's like a pot lid. It's not going to stick on there. There's no friction there. So if you tilt it too far, it falls off. It's not going to stay together. So there's a lot of, don't store your Lego in this. Get it for decoration.
It's very awkward too, in that it falls over easy.
You try and pick it up by the lid, it's not going to work. You're going to lose it. So just get this for your Halloween theme.
This is what happens. Here, Mark, put it up here. This is an example of how it works. Okay, because it's heavy. It's full of Lego, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, let me go get this. Whoa! My Lego spilled everywhere. Exactly. You know, heads are going to roll.
Yeah, pieces everywhere.
Here's another one that these look awesome.
Another display piece.
They look so cool, but they scratch easy for one, and they get scratched up, micro scratches that make them look bad.
Yeah, this smooth plastic doesn't hold up so well.
And they're high quality.
Yeah.
But again, they've got that ridge in there, and they just keep making these things with these ridges in there.
That's super frustrating.
Yeah.
It must have something to do with the mold of the plastic, and that's too thick a plastic to mold or something in there. They have to have that little gap, because that just doesn't make any sense from a container standpoint. So.
If you think about it, I mean, they really do look cool, and I love these as aesthetic pieces, but I mean, just get a free box from the post office, you know, and it's the same size. And it's free.
Exactly.
Rather than pay $40 for one of these things.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the other thing. All these props are usually a little expensive and usually seen on sale afterwards because they're not quite selling as they think they will. So, yeah, these are... Get a couple for the backdrop, but don't store your Lego in here. Get something... Even like stuff like this is better than that. I mean... Yeah.
And then you got these briefcases, which again, I love these things. I think they're neat. It's my briefcase. Look at me. I'm a businessman, you know, going to work.
Exactly. In Lego City.
We have a ton of these. These clasps fall off extremely easy.
Yeah.
And once you lose a clasp, it's almost worthless.
Yeah.
So
it's
we end up throwing them away.
Yeah.
You've got your sorting pieces inside, and they're all stamped Lego, so that's cool. They're Lego pieces. You could use those in a mock.
That's pretty fun. I'll have to think about that.
So that's like something you'd see in Cyberpunk City. Huh?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. So you could put all these in there, but again, you can't dump your stuff out, and you gotta pick things out. It's not clear.
Yeah.
So a tackle box is
technically better, I guess.
Much better.
Yeah.
Because it's at least clear. But yeah, I've never seen an adult actually use one of these for storage. I'm sure they do, just because they have them. But this is like a kid's going on a trip, you know, an 8-year-old's going on a trip. Let him put his Lego in there, and he can build with it in the car and put it back. That's what that's used for. It's not really used for adults sorting or storing Lego.
Or a small minifigure collection. If you have all your minifigs in here and they all fit in here, great. But that's about the extent of the usefulness of this kind of container. So.
You know what I really see people buying a lot? So they don't buy those.
No.
They don't buy the... They buy the heads for aesthetics. They don't buy the bricks. We have those all over the place.
We have plenty of bricks.
Yeah. What they buy is those dots containers. They're about that big. They're kind of like a Tupperware bin.
A little clickable lid. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That seems to be an extremely popular piece. We can't keep those in stock.
That's interesting. And they're also really cheap because they're that really thin plastic.
Yeah.
So they're like $1 or $2. So
they're cheap, but they're just durable enough. The lid just stays on just right. So I think those are, and people like them because they're Lego.
Yeah, and a clear lid, so you can see through versus a lot of the other Lego options. So that's good. Yeah.
So also going back to when I first got started in sorting, and the evolution over the years. When I first started selling on Bricklink, I discovered how easy it was to part out a set. You type in the set number and you click part out, and all of a sudden all that is in your inventory. And it's like, wow, I can sell this set, buy the part, and I can just keep this set on my shelf. So I would sell a part from that set, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that came from that set. So I'd go to that set, and I'd look through and pull that part out, pack that in an order. Well, eventually you get too many sets, and that just does not work that way. Okay, I sold 10 1x2 bricks. One's in there, one's in there, one's in there, one's in there.
Yeah. You're like tracking down where all those pieces are from.
And I was like, okay, I've got to sort these things. It's just not working. So I would sort. That's when I realized I needed to start sorting by type.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Bricklink purposes.
For Bricklink purposes, yeah. But in the same regards, if you're building, which somebody's buying from me on Bricklink because they're building, if you're building and you need 10 1x2s, you don't want to have to go in each set to pull them out.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to sort them out.
Exactly.
If that's your intention.
Yeah.
And Ed, on the other hand, I got into Bricklink. Ed was selling on eBay. He was selling minifigures on eBay, and he didn't know what to do with all the parts to the sets.
Yeah.
And I introduced him to Bricklink. What a bad idea.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of chaos ensuing from that.
So he sorted his by color.
Oh, no. For Bricklink?
For Bricklink.
That's not what I would do.
Yeah. And I don't think he did it himself. He had friends or somebody do it. And so when you needed a part, you would go look in this giant color bin for this one part. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because honestly, once you do sort something by color, it's hard to sort it by part then. Because it all blends in.
Yeah, if you have a bin of black pieces or gray or anything,
Black's the worst because it doesn't have a shadow.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very reflective too, so it's like you're trying to find that 1x2 plate in there and you can't find it, so yeah.
So that's when I realized I needed to sort by part. Yeah. And then with Ed, even though I told him the right way to do it, it
was a slow process to get there.
Mistakes,
that's good. Okay.
Anyhow, that's my story.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see that eventually people are faced with this overwhelming amount of Lego pieces and they have to organize it. Hopefully this video gives them some ideas and some tactics and some things that we've found have worked and we've seen work. And
speaking of sorting, so on Lego Masters, they sorted a lot of bricks.
They did.
They had a ton of bricks sorted.
It's all sorted. So
Season 1, they used these containers that we have here at the store.
Kind of upright-ish containers.
We have them out there, and I like them because they're really nice acrylic. They're really clear. They're about this wide, but they're tall, and they have 3 slots in them.
Yeah.
And they filled with bricks. You can see why they used them, because on camera they looked awesome.
Insanely beautiful.
What was the problem with them? You couldn't.
My big hands couldn't get in there.
Couldn't get your hands in them,
Yep.
right? Luckily, that was season 1, and they learned from their mistakes.
They got a lot. They're larger containers for season 2, so they weren't like this big, but they were a little bit more square shaped. I could reach inside there, not too bad. Still, my fingers were pretty torn up after reaching in there and getting all those pieces out. So
Yeah. And so, how important was sorting on Lego Masters?
very. First of all, they actually divided it by plates and bricks and slopes. So the plates were all on the left and the bricks and slopes were on the right. I don't know if this is kept on for seasons 3 and soon to be 4. But it was, you had the basic bricks up in the front area. You had big tubs of them. So like the 2x4s and 2x3s were all in like a container about this size around a big round pedestal thing. So it was pretty interesting. It was fairly easy once you got used to it. I still liked having, I was still missing my color sorted bin of pieces though. Because I'd have a bin full of 2x3s and 2x4s, and then I realized I needed a 1x2 or a 1x1. And I was like, I got to go run and get that one specific piece to fit that one little space. And if I had color sorted brick, I would just go and put it right there. So in my building style, I was not saving time; I was losing time. But you got to have it organized. They couldn't just put color sorted brick out there and expect people to figure out what's going on. So I can see why they do it that way.
Well, so from what I understand is after every episode, they would sort. After they filmed one episode, they would actually go back, tear those models apart, and resort the brick for the next episode.
They did, yeah. So every single model, except for a few exceptions, they would take it all apart, and then they would not only sort it, but they would have to clean it too. So they clean it and then sort it out.
Wow.
So because they would have to UV light it, send it through a conveyor belt, UV light it. They weren't washing it with physical product, but they were trying to make sure there was no COVID or germs or anything associated with it, because our season was very COVID sensitive, and so that was an enormous undertaking. I think there was about 30 or 40 people working on it full time during the time, just sorting Lego, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I felt so bad for them. But it all worked out in the end. We still had some pieces by the end of the show.
So I would say that is the epitome of sorting.
Yeah, the ultimate sorting process was Lego Masters. So yeah.
Did you ever find that you grabbed a piece that was either dirty from a past episode, like maybe it had slime on it or something?
So we noticed a handful of pieces, a couple pink ones in particular, that had explosion, like burn marks on them.
From a previous
From
challenge.
probably season 1, because I know there was a lot of recycled from season 1, because and then some from our season as well. We found a few burnt pieces. They did try to get rid of most of the destroyed Lego, but there's always a few that slip between the cracks and get back into the system. So it was amusing to see that. So.
Because if your Lego is sorted, you can build that much faster.
Exactly.
So what do you think if you've got time? Let's say you've got 6 hours a day to build, which is on the high side, probably.
That's more than I have per week. Yeah, but no.
All right, let's say 10.
Yeah.
Let's say 10 hours a day. Of course, you're not. No one's gonna have that kind of time. You know, if you do, lucky,
not normally.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
In a 10-hour day, how much of that time? How many hours do you spend building, and how many times do you spend sorting?
It's a good question. So if you're talking about how much volume is built versus sorting, because we do it by color, I would say you could, if you spent like the amount of time to sort pieces and then use those pieces building, it'd probably be about half.
Oh wow!
So you're sorting for about 4 to 5 hours, and then you're building for about that much time as well. Because what I'll do is I'll get those pick-a-brick cups from the Lego store. I have probably a few hundred of them, and I'll lay them all out on the table. And one is for yellow, one is for tan, one is for red, green, blue, whatever. All the colors that I like to sort out. And I'll just go ding, 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 ding. Like it's almost like an arcade game. And so I'll just go through bins about this size, like 3 or 4 of these an hour. And so that's pretty fast. And so because I'm building a creation, I could be building a pretty large scene in, 3-4 hours. And so it's pretty good ratio of sorting per building. However, the building isn't as fast as it could be because it's all just color sorted, and we're using tables with edges to help speed up the searching process, and we scoop them up into a bin to put them back away. So we're trying to maximize everything we can and still keep that color sorting method, because if we switch to by part, or by even if it was like all the 1x2s go in one bin, like no matter what color, it would still take too long for me to sort that to justify the amount of time the little amount of time that I do have to build. So it's an interesting balance, but that's what kind of works for us.
And the way I would do it is I probably in the same day. I'm not sure if I would sort and build in the same day.
I typically don't. So,
okay, yeah, because it's what you feel like doing. If you're tired and mentally tired, building and being creative could be too much.
Yeah, that's a day to sort. So
that's why sorting is so therapeutic, because it's almost mindless, but
it
it's
really is.
not.
Yeah.
You're actually using your mind and keeping things organized. And they say that ironing clothes is therapeutic because you're taking the wrinkles out of something and making it clean and fresh.
Organizing.
And you're organizing, and that's stress relief. So sorting something can be very stress relieving.
Yeah.
As long as you're not on a timeline. I mean, hey, we pay guys to sort in our sorting room downstairs.
Yeah.
And it's got to be stress relieving because they're sitting there like this
with their music,
headphones on. You know, it's got to be relaxing because they're doing it so slow.
Will taking their time down there. Hey, they are thorough though, so that's good. But
when you're paying by the hour, it's and I'm not saying it's Will. We have a number of guys.
We got a handful of good crew down there. So, but I would say the older I get, the more I appreciate the therapeutic nature of sorting, and I enjoy sorting. Like in the past, I absolutely hated it. As a younger teen and early 20s, it was very frustrating. Now it's like I like it just as much as building. So
you're probably right at that 50-50 stage, 50% sorting, whereas younger people are going to be more into building because they're impatient. Yeah. They don't have the patience to sort.
Well, they have more time too, so they're not even spending time sorting. They're just looking for pieces for hours and building. They don't mind digging through a bin and getting out the one piece. They don't care. So,
and I've been that way in my life with everything. I used to be a lot more impatient, and I would just jump right in instead of setting myself up for success early on. You know? And then the older you get, the more patient in general you get, I think. Yeah. And the more sorting you're probably gonna end up doing.
I think once you get older, you're just gonna, and if you end up having a more evolved sorting process, you could be sorting a lot more than you're building. I know a couple of AFOs who I believe are very much that case. So.
You ever meet anybody that has retired from building and they just sort?
I know a few that are getting to that point. It's pretty funny. So yeah. Or at least they must have lots of time to sort. So,
yeah. Well, again, it's it being therapeutic. You get home from work.
Oh yeah,
and that's what
nothing
you do,
better.
So
it's great. Yeah. So.
Turn the TV on. What do you like doing while you're sorting?
So I'll sometimes listen to podcasts. I'll sometimes watch movies or TV shows, particularly ones I've seen before and just feel like watching again. If I'm watching something for the first time, I actually want to focus on it.
You're right.
I feel like you're the same way with that, Chris.
Same.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you gotta give it. Like I watched the last season finale of The Mandalorian. I had to turn the lights off. I had to finish my food that I was eating. I had to have my drink ready.
Yep. You want to be focused on that episode.
The kids in bed. I had to be fully focused, and it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. But if you're sorting and that's the focus, you could have any kind of audio or video in the background that's not like new and important, and I think it's very nice. I know a lot of people end up watching our live streams and our Between the Studs episodes here on the channel while sorting their Lego.
So you're saying somebody could be sorting right now while we're talking?
Very likely, actually. So yeah.
I wonder who it is.
Probably one of our members. I don't know. Our members are always listening to our stuff, so it's great. So, yeah.
I bet it's Flounder.
Yeah. Or it could be Morgan or Gary. You never know. So all of our friends there. Yeah. So. All right. But is that about all we have for sorting today, Chris? Is that our full discussion?
I think so. I got all my fun things over here. This is my go-to tray that I didn't get to talk about. I love these trays. You get them from Walmart. They're made by Sterilite. I think I know this off the top of my head, I think they're 3 inches tall.
Yep.
And what I like so much about these is you can stand a minifigure up inside. So when I used to go to conventions, I would try all these different ways to get my minifigures from my house to a convention stood up on the rack.
So you don't have to put them all up the day before.
Exactly. So I would put them on, all on a base plate, put them in here, take them out of here, put them down. They've got a lid that clicks in place.
Yep,
so
they're
the
not
lid
falling
doesn't
out.
fall off. They're high quality, rigid plastic, and they're just that right height so that a minifigure can stand up inside them.
And you're stacking whole armies of figures here, right? So,
Now that I don't go to do shows anymore with minifigures, I have a bunch of these left over, and I find that I like them for looking for Lego in them because they're nice and flat.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the perfect height for and flatness for looking for Lego and not having to tote around a big, huge bin full of Lego.
It's all about that surface area for me. The bigger the surface area, the more exposed pieces you're looking at one time.
Yeah.
And so this is more efficient than a bin this size because you have roughly twice the amount of surface area that you're seeing or be able to reach into. This does hold probably about the same or maybe even a little bit more, but this is easier to look through. So.
The only difference here is that stops you from getting this is the cost. This is like $6 or $7.
$2 or less. So
$2 or less.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, I think that covers all my show and tell items.
We talked about a variety of Lego bins and containers, so hopefully, I think that anyone who watches this video in its entirety will have tons of ideas and strategies to use when sorting their own collections and pieces and minifigures, so hopefully they enjoy this video. But thank you, Chris, for joining me. This has been a good discussion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. We have tons of live streams and other videos like this all the time, so stay tuned. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.